I want to take time tonight to share with you about our week at Horizons. And there may be some of you sitting there saying, Brother Ray, why waste a Sunday evening sharing this with us? Point number one in my mind is, it's not a waste of our time. As we turn on our televisions, as we look out and we see the things that are going on in our world, and it seems all that we hear about young people are the wrongs and the things that they're doing which to us would not be pleasing to God. And so it's important to me to share with you that there were 890 who have not bowed the knee to Satan himself. You need to hear the good that 890 young people that gave up a week of their summer. And by the way, I would say for the majority of them, it was their choice. It was not a choice that mom or dad made that said, we're going to send you there. And I say that with confidence because I've already been hearing young people, when does Horizons 2015 start? Well, we're just a little over 350 some odd days from Horizons 2015. And for those of us who go as staff, yes, we rekindle some acquaintances that we have had all through the years. But I want you to know the reason that we go is so that we can serve young people who are searching to live the life that Christ and that God would have them to live. And so tonight, as I speak to you about those 890 young men, Kay did an analysis of the applications that came in. 45% of those who were there that week had never been to Horizons. Brethren, Horizons is doing something right. When we can have that number of new people, it means that young folks are looking forward with anticipation. I was asked by someone here this morning, what grade do they have to be in to go? And I said, you have to be finished with your 6th grade year. And she said, how sad. My granddaughter has one more year to go and she can't wait. That says something to me. And I'm privileged to be able to serve with the blessing of the men of this congregation on the planning committee that puts the events together. And to the men, I say thank you for the opportunity, because I get to serve with 6 or 7 others that are just as focused as I am on making the week about our young people. And so let me tell you a few things, and then I have a few pictures, and some are some serious pictures. There are some that are rather humorous. And I hope no one takes offense to especially one of the pictures that I'm going to show tonight. But young people, through the course of the week of Horizons, beginning at 6 p.m. on a Sunday evening, we begin our week, assembled together to worship the God of heaven. Our theme this year, Before the Throne. All of our addresses dealt with some aspect of going before the throne of God. And we began on a high on that night with a great lesson. And then we had our free time, and I'll show you some pictures of the hypnotist / comedian that we had and some of the things that he brought. But brethren, we end our night, every night, with a period of devotional in our dorms. Through the course of the whole week, the young men had 15 opportunities in devotional periods and worship. The young ladies had an extra opportunity this year because there was a camper-led female devotional. added at the very last minute. And while it did put some kinks in our plans and threw our time schedule off, I'm glad they did it. Because that's what Horizons is all about. To me, it is about those devotionals that the girls lead in their dorms, the guys lead in their dorms, and the 2 devotionals on Thursday afternoon, where they see their peers stand up and deliver messages, lead songs, read scriptures, and lead the prayers. A great thing is going on in Horizons. Let me just tell you a few things in some of the classes, and I think some of these are things maybe that us as adults that we need to hear sometimes. Because, as young people, oftentimes they think in their minds that God has deserted me, that God is not there. And remember this morning, it is not God who goes away, but it is us who leaves Him. And so on the guys' side, as they began their very first class of the day, we call them leadership classes, but in these classes, we dealt with some of the attributes of God. 4 men stood up, rotating through the age groups, and spoke to our young men about the providence of God. How many of us truly understand God's providence? We tried to open the minds of those young people about His providence. We also tried to open those young men their mind about the fact that God surrounds us with His care. I asked Caleb Sams to teach that class, and I think and I hope many of you will remember our brother Caleb Sams, who was unable to attend Horizons last year because he had had the lower part of his leg amputated because of the dreaded disease of cancer. And he was in the process of rehabbing and all of those things. And when we selected our theme, Before His Throne, I couldn't think of a better young man than to speak of how God surrounded him with His care. We also had a lesson on the mercy of God. You see, sometimes young people think in the back of their mind, God is not a merciful God. That God will not show His mercy towards us, in so much in the fact that when a young person falls away or they will not come to put Christ on is oftentimes because they don't understand the mercy of God. And then the last class looked at the grace that God shows to each of us. And then each and every day, and I'm going to do the men's first, and then I'll come to the women's side. And there are some folks who were there, the ladies that were there. You might be able to help me out if I get some of these wrongs after services and correct me. But in our second class of each day, we call them ministry classes. And it is where we try to work with young men on different areas in which they can become involved with in the church. Every 6th grade student went to a beginning song leading class. You know me, I like to sing. Chip likes to sing. He's singing 7 songs tonight. And I told him, if I go over, it's your fault, because you added an extra song tonight. But I believe it is important that every congregation has multiple song leaders, not just one. Because I grew up in a congregation where they had to pay someone to come lead singing. Brother, I don't think that's right. I don't think you should have to pay someone to lead singing. I think there ought to be someone out there that's willing and desirous to lead singing. That's the importance of our song leading class. And then we had many other classes, and just to give you a few, we had one gentleman that spoke about Christian evidences, or apologetics, if you will. We had a class, and one thing that the church is very good at is this technology stuff. And we had one individual who is now working with a congregation in Texas, and his purpose is to help congregations as they are getting involved in the electronic media through video and other things, ways that we can reach out to individuals. Most of you will remember the Jewel Miller film strips, right? Remember those? That's what this class deals with. How can we show others about Christ with technology? And we had effective Bible habits, community outreach, one on foreign missions. And I was especially proud of the individual that taught the foreign missions class. He will only be a sophomore at Freed Hardeman next year, but he's led multiple campaigns to foreign countries. Brethren, we're trying. Young people are understanding the importance of serving others. Youth ministry classes, how you can work with young people. And one young man Thursday night in our senior bridge crossing ceremony remarked, he signed up for that youth ministry class, and he thought all that it was going to be about was how that youth ministers babysit children. And he said, I was wrong. He said, I was wrong because I learned not only those types of things, but I truly learned how to reach the heart of a young person. You see, oftentimes youth ministries are, unfortunately, glorified babysitting services.
Amen.
But we are trying to show young people that there's a whole lot more to it than that. How that you might reach them and retain those who you bring into the church through your programs. One of the classes that was taught, and when I was asked, can I teach this class, I was like, I'm not real sure. And I wasn't real sure how it fit into our program. But I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And it dealt with the Jewish perspective of the New Testament. Never had thought about that as being a way to reach out to others. But brethren, are the Jews lost? Those who have not put Christ on? We need to understand why, the background of their thinking. And that particular class, I assigned it to a room that had 64 seats. There were a minimum of 85 young men in that class every day. Proved me wrong. Shame on me. It'll be a part of our program again next year. And I could go on and on about these things. And a class that helps deal with a major problem we have in our society today, and that is addiction. Think about addictions. Do we need to know how to work with those who are addicted? And it's not just addicted to drugs and alcohol. The topic is very sensitive as it dealt with pornography and other things. Brethren, now that class was only for juniors and seniors in high school since it was a sensitive class. But that class was full every day too. And then I added one this year. It was called Broken Families. How do we work with broken families? Do we not live in a day and a time in which there may be a single parent in a family? We as men that want to work and fulfill the plans that Christ has, we need to know how to work with them every single day. So the benefit of the men's classes was very good. I didn't mention our speaking classes, but every one of those young men goes through a speaking class based on age, what grade they're in. I had one gentleman come to me last year and send me an email and said, we need to do away with that and not require those young men to go to those classes. And I said, no. I said the speaking class is important. Not only is it important to me in preparing our young men to do devotionals, to teach classes, even to do public speaking from the pulpit. What about in their jobs? Are they going to be required to do some public speaking? So the benefit of Horizons not only affects the church, but it can reach outside the church. I'm looking forward to the day, and I'm issuing him his challenge tonight. And he can get mad at me, and he can come and beat me up after services. Quantum, within a year, you're going to be right here, and you're going to deliver a lesson based on what you learned at Horizons. Because that's what Horizons is about. That is what it's about. It is about training young men and women to be the future leaders in the church. By the way, ask me, when is the future? Tomorrow. Tomorrow. You see, all of them can be leaders in the church tomorrow. On the ladies' side, they dealt with, I think it's like 8 different things or 7 different lessons that they dealt with. And again, age appropriate, different teachers. And they took a different track this year on what they were doing. We asked as a committee that they incorporate some things about song leading, some things about public speaking. Some of you are saying, why? How many ladies' days do you see advertised? How many opportunities are there for them to teach in a classroom situation? How many opportunities, even here at South Jackson, we have ladies' devotionals, don't we? We need our young ladies to be involved in the work of the church. You're important. You have a role. It is different than the men, but you still have a role to fulfill. They talked about study habits, about being leaders, about singing, about praying, about what it means to serve and how to speak and how to trust. You see, all of those are very important to us. But as I begin these pictures and slides, they will go along with the things that I've already said. Here, the throne. Each evening service had the throne in some position on the stage to remind us that we were before His throne. That when we come together and we worship, and as we assemble together, that we were there in the very presence of God. And here's just a few pictures. These are some silly pictures that they took on picture day. You may recognize a few of these people. I wish I had a full picture of our staff, but these are the folks who give up their summers to come and to work with us. You might know one of those in that picture. You might know two of those in this picture. I wish I would have made it lighter. But there they are behind the scenes. By the way, I don't know how many of you watched the 10 o'clock news last week, but we have some movie stars in our presence. They were on WBBJ. First time ever that I can remember in all of my years, WBBJ coming and doing a feature story about Horizons. And there was also a great article in the Jackson Sun about Horizons. I don't remember what order I put these in, so when you come to one that shocks you, just stay still. This is our good friend Caleb Sanders, as he spoke on Tuesday morning, and he spoke about that presence and that nearness of God. What a great lesson. And here is the speaker for our gospel meeting, John, Jason Hardeman. Jason had those chains wrapped around him talking about the bondage of sin. I had to step out of the auditorium to take care of a matter, but I heard a loud thud. And that was Jason showing that God could break the chains as they fell to the stage very loudly. And here is, and I may get it wrong, but this came from China with the young lady that is standing on this close side to us. She's lighting this Chinese, and I call it luminary, however you pronounce it. And that was lit, and it lifted off into the sky as Chuck Morris reminded us that we needed to be a light to all the world. You remember the words I said this morning, that we were fed to feed and that we were led to lead? That's what Chuck was saying as that went off. It's all of our responsibility, because we know Jesus says that we are to be the light that is on the hill, that shines ever so that folks can see the good works and God can be glorified. Here is one of our ministry classes. This happened to be the community outreach class. They went up on the hill 2 days and spent an hour each day with the folks at the Heritage Towers Retirement Center, working with senior citizens. Brethren, that's important that we work with our seniors and we train our young people to do those things. There's Quantum in worship. Let me go to the next one, because there'll be 3 young ladies recognizing that one. Nigeria, Savannah, and Dakota. And I looked through over 1,000 pictures today. And Destiny was nowhere to be found in any of those pictures. I know where she was in this picture. She was sitting right next to Dakota. But they didn't catch her in the picture. She's real good at hiding from the photographer. So I don't have one of her. And this is Bailey White, standing before the women's only devotional on Tuesday night. I don't know if she led singing or she led a prayer or read scripture. I wasn't there. But I saw young people in action. And here is the Sunday night activity. The hypnotist came in and he put them on a roller coaster that went 550 miles an hour. And here are two. And look at the looks on their faces. Yes, there is a serious side to worship, devotional, and study. But we also need to understand that as a Christian, we can have some fun. You say, that's what sometimes our young people miss. They don't realize that it's okay to have fun. They don't realize what the Donaldson family realizes, and that's to laugh all the time. They don't realize and see that you can have a little bit of fun. Recognize this fellow, Carolyn? There's Jacob having fun doing the hula hoop. There are three of my favorite people in the world. They are from Katy, Texas. In 2011, they brought a group to Horizons for the first time. They can't wait every year to come back. They take care of running the concession stand, which goes into scholarship funds so that folks who need a little assistance to come, that we have some money available to help them. They give their time. They're not the group that came the farthest, though. Although they had a 14-hour drive, there was a group that came from Swartz Creek, Michigan. 15 hours. I thought it was bad enough coming 5 hours from Elizabethtown with a group of teenagers in the van. I don't know that I could take 15 hours. But we had one that came further than that. We had a young man, for the first time that he ever left his family, that he ever left his hometown, from Haiti, Paul Faton. He spoke just before Chuck did on Thursday night. And I'll never forget his words as he said, "You welcomed me like I was family." No one had ever met the young man, but he was family. And he felt like family. Please don't take offense to this photo. I learned that I should never smart off to the security guard. He was coming into the common area, to the quad area, and parking is at a premium. They've torn all the parking a lot out of the front of Gardner Center, which is where we would normally park when it was dinner time. And so I'm in the quad, and I'm sitting back in an area of the quad where there are multiple yellow lines. Do you know what multiple yellow lines means? No parking. And so when he came in, I asked him, I said, "What are you doing up here?" And he said, "I'm coming to find owners of vehicles." And I said, "Don," I said, "I'm parked down there in the corner. Am I okay?" And he said, "Yes, you're okay." He said, "I'm not writing a ticket to you because I don't want to deal with your wife." But one of the ones in this picture decided to say to him, "Can you do anything with Ray?" And Don said yes, and he came over and we staged this photo. Brother, you can have fun as a Christian. You can have fun and you can find humor in things. When's the last time you saw somebody being arrested that had a smile on their face? That should be a dead giveaway. We had fun. We had a redneck swimming pool that somebody built in the back of their pickup truck. And that night I went up and he said, I'm going to do it again tomorrow. Tomorrow came and he said, well, you know, my axle was only rated for so many pounds and I had 3 times the amount of weight that it should have had. He said, I'm afraid I'm going to break my axle. So we didn't have it anymore. Evening time brings time for fun and games. I'm going to give credit to 2 young ladies tonight, Stephanie and Lauren. They're the ones that did our life-size board games. Stephanie painted the grids and Lauren did some painting and a lot of things. Those were a hit. We had a human chess match that took an hour to play. Every piece was a human being. We had a battleship board, a giant battleship board, made out of cardboard. The ships were. You see, we have things to do for our young people. We find interesting things for them to do. I hope you can see what is in this picture. This was on Wednesday night after our evening worship, and we had 7 young people come and express the desire to be baptized. This is the Horizons Baptistry. And I hope that you can see the faces of the young people who were around that baptistry as they watched ones put Christ on in baptism. Yes, we're there for fun. We're there for fellowship. But our ultimate goal is to make sure young people, when they see their need to obey the gospel, that we provide that need. I told you this morning there were 25 or more were baptized. We also had at least 80 to 100, somewhere in that neighborhood, of young people who came and asked for prayer from their peers and from all of us. 3 of our young ladies came and asked for those prayers. And we're so thankful. We need to encourage them. We need to encourage ones who put Christ on in baptism. I don't know why I put that one on there. Diana McConnell said it looked like we were little birds looking for worms to be fed. And here's the King's Banquet. Every year we recognize one person from every floor in every dorm with a leadership award that exhibits the greatest ability to lead and has shown that throughout the week. We also recognize campers who've been to Horizons for 5 years, our staff members in 5-year multiples for how long they have served. And here's Thursday night. And this is the worst time for me. Have you ever seen a grown man cry? Thursday night, when this group that you see in this picture, when they come across this little bridge and they say goodbye to Horizons and they begin the next phase of their life. I don't know if I can show the next one. Kay's already crying. Now, since she's crying, I might as well. And here is one of the most special campers that I've ever met at Horizons. Her name is Mackenzie Apple. A tender, loving heart who 3 years ago had her mom call and speak to Kay. And she said, my daughter has decided I'm not coming to Horizons. I'm not coming. Point blank. She said she's not coming. But of course, if you know Kay, you know that her tender heart talked Mackenzie into coming to Horizons. I don't have time to read the posts that she makes on Facebook. But when she hugged my neck, and she said, "I'm going to miss this," I said, "No, you're not going to miss it, because I want you back next year to be on the staff so you can work with young people just like our staff work with you and help you, because that's what Horizons is about." You've heard me say it at the conclusion of 90% of my sermons. Why are we here? We are here to help each other. Horizons allows us to help people. And that's why I'm appreciative of you for giving me the opportunity, giving Kay the opportunity to serve. Because it is truly one of the best weeks of my year. And I want to close with this, because this message sums it all up for me. Posted on, and I ask for your forgiveness because I am online and I am on Facebook during my sermon. And that's because I couldn't get this to cut and paste and do what I wanted to do the correct way. So in order to get it right, I want to share with you a message from a parent. His name is David Phillips, and he says, "A parent's worst nightmare starts with a late night phone call when their kids are not at home. Last night, Missy and I were in a deep sleep when the phone rang at 1 a.m. I heard a quivering voice on the other end. 'Daddy?' It was Ray Ann. And before I could even ask what was wrong or if she was okay, she blurted out, 'Daddy, I'm getting baptized.' And all I could do was say, 'Sweetheart, that is wonderful.' 'When?' 'Right now, Daddy,' she replied. And all I could do for the next couple of minutes was blubber about how great it was and how proud her mother and I were of her. I told her we wished we could be there and to see if they could to see if they could make sure her brother was there to watch. Have someone take a video and send it to us." And here's how he concluded, which makes this all worthwhile. He says, "You see, God made my worst nightmare into a dream come true. He does that. He has the power. Praise God, and thank you, Horizons at FHU, for this wonderful ministry." Many others commented on that, but one other parent commented, and I think I'm going to read this one. He said, "I guess 1 a.m. is baptism time at Horizons, because the exact same thing happened to us this morning. What a blessing. Thanks to the Lord and the wonderful and loving staff at Horizons." And this was the young man who I had the privilege of baptizing. And I commented on his wife's page, "Your son is now your brother." What a blessing, brethren. What an opportunity that we have to serve our young people. I'm tired of hearing the things that they're doing that are wrong. I'm tired of reading in the paper the things that they do which brings wrong attention to them. I want us to strive to bring positive things such as Horizons. And Horizons, brethren, is not the only thing that's out there that is going well for our young people. Our young people go to other things that are just as uplifting and as encouraging as Horizons. I'm just blessed to be part of the Horizons program. And I intend to continue as long as Brother Billy Smith and the others on the committee will allow me to serve. Yes, those mornings when you get in bed at 2:30 and you wake up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and you've only had 2 or 3, 4 hours of sleep, it's all worth it when you see the good that's being accomplished. And so I ask you to continue to pray for our program. Continue to encourage our young people to be the leaders that we all know they can be. I know tonight's lesson has not necessarily been one that would encourage one to obey the gospel. But as we think about our life, How are we serving God? The first question we have to ask is, have we entered His presence? Have we confessed the name of Jesus, repented of our sins? Have we been baptized into Christ so that we can gain access? If not, tonight would be a great night for you to do just that. Or if your life hasn't been right, you can be like many of those at Horizons that came and said, I need a change. I want to go back to serving God instead of serving self. You can come repenting of sin, confessing those sins. Let your brethren pray with you, pray for you. You know your need. All we ask you to do is to come while we stand and while we sing.